Saul and Battery, hosted by Mel and Kelly.
And Mike.
Forget what you know. Forget what you know. Saul and Battery.
And welcome back to Saul and Battery Season 2, Episode 1. Glad to be back. I'm Kelly Toole, at KELLYTHUL on Twitter.
Hello, everyone. I am Mike, at Official Pagan on Twitter.
And I'm Mel, at Karmic9 on Twitter.
So as a special treat to the fans, we may have our first mid-show death during the show. Mel has joined us, but she's not in the best of health, which we super appreciate her joining us. But you just keep us posted if you can carry on, Mel. Do appreciate you joining us, though.
Well, I'll tip the battery over if I pass out. I've got a little safety string on him, so y'all will know.
Excellent. Good deal. All right, so we're going to try a slightly different format. As you may have realized if you've watched the show before, the first big change is we're not coming on 15 minutes after the show. We're doing it the next day. It kind of works out better for schedules. And some Hardwick guy stole our idea and was doing a show after Saul yesterday anyway, so I'm not sure we would necessarily want to go up against him. So,
I can't tell you how many times Chris Hardwick has tried to steal my thunder.
It's getting old. It's getting really old, but we'll just have to deal with it.
He does know people. So.
Yeah, he seems to have a little better guest power than we do right now.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of an edge on us there. But
listen, we have a doll's head, a toy, and a battery.
That's right.
It doesn't get any better than that. Beat that, Chris Hardwick.
That is correct. Not only that, but we have a timer, which we'll go to next. So one of the new approaches we're going to take is to, last year we just kind of stepped through the episode, talked about the different scenes and kind of shared observations through the show. This year we're going to give you all a quick recap in 1 minute or less of the entire show, so that if you're pressed for time and you just want to get caught up, you can basically listen to the first couple minutes of the podcast and you're up to speed, and away you go. And then we'll, after the recap, we'll do some ask some questions back and forth. We've got actually one this week already from the field, if you will, and then we'll do, of course, favorite quotes and call it a day. So if you're out there, please tweet us, use the hashtag TalkSaul, tweet directly at Official Pagan, Karmic9, or Kelly Toole, and we'd love to get your questions and answer them live. And because there's just so much more adrenaline and fun, I've not practiced this, rehearsed this, or tested this to see how this whole recap the show in 1 minute will work. So this may horribly crash and burn, but won't that be entertaining? So we'll see how it goes here. Where we're going to go is I'm going to do it this week. We'll have Mike do it the following week, and the third week we're going to have Mel do it. But when Mel does it, we're going to do a Texas minute, and we're going to give her a minute 15 because of the drawl and the accent. So we'll give her a little more time to
I need a little extra help, y'all.
So we'll do that. So,
and if nothing else, if you want to see a crash and burn, assuming that Kelly pulls it off this week, I guarantee a crash and burn when I do it.
It's hard.
We're about to find out, folks, and so we're going to tie our very multi-screen approach here, our high-end timer with some black tape hiding the banner so I avoid any advertising issues, and I think we're just going to give her a go, so hang on a sec. Okay, show starts off, we're back at Cinnabon. Saul's there, it's in black and white. Boy, does he have a bad mustache. He's moping around. He eventually gets in the back room. He's locked in, but he's scared to get out, so he won't open the door. We then come back, and he's thinking about joining Davis and Maine. It's the scene from last year. Come on, it's 15 seconds already. And it's Davis and Maine. What's going to happen? He talks to Kim if it's going to happen. She says no, so he splits. He drinks some cucumber water. We get to the garage. Price is there. It's ridiculous. Price has got this crazy car. He fires Mike. That was stupid. He sees Nacho. Nacho gets his registration. Then we see Floating Jimmy, and he's gotten a law for the wrong reasons. People don't view me as a lawyer. We see Ken wins. They pull a scam on him. Kim's really very, very good at this scam. They bond. They kiss. They go back home to Kim's house. They wake up the next morning. There's a really cute bathroom scene, and wouldn't it be great if they did it all the time at the camp? Now Price is back. He's been robbed. He's a Cubs fan, I can see, which makes him a real big jerk. They find his hidey hole. There's Floating Jimmy. He calls Kim. He's to join the Pride, joins Davis and Maine, and he plays the light switch. It's not bad. So that's a minute 3.
That was very good.
I'm going to recover for a second.
It was good.
We can go into a little more depth. So, tip for you for next week, Mike? That's freaking hard.
Well, I will take your sage-like wisdom under advisement.
I wish I was from Texas. I could have used that extra 15 seconds. Alrighty. So let's do some questions here. So there was a Twitter account out there, Sean Schick, I'm sorry. Sean Schick had a question about, what was the deal in the opening scene with Gene refusing to go out the door? So I have some thoughts, but Mike, what did you take away from that first scene?
Him refusing to go out the door that sets off the alarm when he's trapped in the trash room, you mean?
Yep.
Okay, to me, he doesn't want to draw any police attention to himself. He's trying to keep a low profile. And to me, that, means low profile. He's in a mall, so if he exits out that back door, he's going to be on security cameras as the person who set the alarm off. So the police are going to come and talk to him. It's just unwanted aggravation and attention that he doesn't really need, whether they recognize him or not.
I agree. It was all about fear. He's lost his Saul Goodman nerve.
And then it was really kind of cool at the end of that. So he was basically in there from around 9:20 till 11:45. So he had a couple hours to sit on that milk crate. And apparently he made some use of that time, and we had a SG was here carved in the wall. So kind of like last year's opening scene, where there's some reminiscing about the good old days for Jimmy.
Yes, his little act of rebellion is what that there was still little Saul left. But man, Gene is a sad character.
He's just like the broken shell of what used to be Saul.
Yes. Yes, we have to wonder if Saul will ever return. Speaking of Saul returning, Kelly, thank you.
Yes. So that was. So yeah, sorry, the camera
crew. A broken shell of a man.
the camera crew wasn't really doing the job they needed to there. So, but Saul's back from there. But you got to see the timer for a little while. Longer. So maybe need to add "and timer" to our entry song for Saul and Battery.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, for you folks listening to our theme song, that's an edit. That's not Alicia singing the entire thing. That is
if you were to the untrained ear, you would never know.
It's seamless.
It is. It's nearly perfect. And personally, I'm hoping for a dance remix of the intro music so I can make it my cell phone ringtone.
You should work on that, Mike.
Yeah.
I hear you're in music. I think you should do that.
I dabble a little.
Yeah, I've heard that. Oh.
So, alrighty. So, we've got Myrna saying, "Are we doing Talk Saul? And if yes, can you put the link on Google Plus?" So, Sure, we can try and do that while we're doing this. So, what we're going to kind of do next is so thanks, A Jerk Sean, for the question there. Anybody else has got questions, so tweet them at us. We'll try and work them in. I've got one ready. Unless Mike, you'd like to kick us off with
No, go right ahead.
Okay. So this episode had a number of pretty cool callbacks to Breaking Bad, and I guess we should probably so spoilers. If you've not watched this episode of Talk Saul, one, I spoiled it poorly for you in the 1-minute summary, but we're going to talk kind of all about it, anything about Breaking Bad and all that kind of stuff. So if you really haven't watched the first episode, I really don't think this would be a show for you to be listening to. So we'll be talking about all of the things in it. So the Don Eladio tequila was there, and Ken from Ken Wins, the jerk with the Bluetooth that Walt blew his car up. And so Ken doesn't seem to do well in Vince Gilligan shows. He seems to have a tough break.
Well,
but,
he's a jerk.
So I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan, and I'm loving Better Call Saul. But my question to kind of both of you is, while the callbacks to Breaking Bad are cool, do you think that can be kind of overdone? And in this first episode, did they start to push that a little bit? Was it a little heavy-handed on it, or are you kind of cool with the pacing of the callbacks?
Mel, would you like to take this?
Okay. I did not think it was heavy-handed. There were quite a few, but I thought that they slipped them in there pretty well. I've actually come across several people who have started watching Better Call Saul that are unfamiliar with Breaking Bad, so they're not getting all of these little Easter eggs that the rest of us are. So I liked it. It gives you that little sense of continuity, that this is a story that that we've been waiting for, because we said this all through Breaking Bad, is we really wanted to know more about Saul. And so it ties us back to that warm, fuzzy feeling we got through all of the horror that Walt and Jesse and Saul went through. And Mike, Mike himself is a huge callback, his whole character, to Breaking Bad. So I didn't think it was heavy-handed. There were quite a few, but I thought that they were kind of subtly done. They flowed well. I don't think that they stood out as any sort of glaring, hey, look at this with a neon sign, this is an Easter egg.
No, I think Mel completely nailed it. I think you need, especially in an opening episode or the first couple episodes of the new season, I think you need to reestablish that continuity, that this does exist in the same world, because in every other sense, I feel like this show does have its own identity. So I actually think it's important that they remind you of the continuity of the overall storyline.
Right.
Yeah, and like I said, I love Breaking Bad, so any kind of chance to kind of relive a little moment of that or two is great. I think the only thing it just kind of crossed my mind, so I was interested in what you guys thought, because I think it was probably because they bundled it all into one scene, that it was Ken, and it was Ken with the tequila, that it just crossed my mind a little bit to say, wow, they really wanted to make sure they got some, because they pulled from two big different storylines for that. But it was cool, and it made sense, and they're such good writers that it all worked out well. Kim's quite the impressive con person. Doesn't appear that maybe this is the first time she's done that.
Yeah, she was very impressive. I would like to know more about where she came across this skill. She is a lawyer. I have to keep remembering that. She is an evil lawyer, so she's good at lying.
The opinions expressed by the Battery do not necessarily...
I mean, I would just like to say, obviously, all lawyers are evil except for mine.
Opinions expressed by the doll head do not necessarily... So did you guys think she was gonna go in on this or not? Because there was a moment when, because she was pretty unwilling all the way up to there, and then there's that moment of truth where Jimmy said, "This is my sister." Where did you think she was gonna go through with it or not?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I did. Once he started to introduce her, I thought she was just going to play along with it because I think with her character, she's much less conflicted than Saul. Or Jimmy. She's way more on one side of the fence, but there's a part of her that would like to be slipping Jimmy's girlfriend.
Yeah, she was impressive. Because when she went in, she was out. Because Jimmy's no slouch when it comes to running these campaigns, and she held her own with them. It was really fun to watch. So from Twitter, the McGednos are watching, and props to Mel for the knitted cap, kettlehead cap, I believe, on the battery. Is that correct, Mel?
Yes, that is a knitted kettle head hat for the battery.
In
Yes.
Hamblindigo blue.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I have one skill.
It's quite an impressive skill, though.
Thank you. I try.
All right, Mr. Mike, do you have a question for the committee?
So I do. This is going to sound really strange. So if you were a character in this world, and I'm going to the present day or post Breaking Bad because I'm not sure if it's meant to be present day, but the post Breaking Bad sequence in the beginning, the black and white in Cinnabon. If you were a character that existed in this world and you saw Saul working at Cinnabon, what would your reaction be? Would you turn him in? Presumably there's some sort of a reward for him or anything like that. Would you try and confront him? Would you go in and order Cinnabon?
I'm definitely ordering a Cinnabon regardless. that needs to be taken care of first before any other action. So the question's kind of like, so I'm in that time frame. I know who Saul Goodman is. I come
Correct.
across Gene, and I go, I know who that is. Would I turn him in?
Yeah. What would you do? What would your reaction be? Because we've definitely established. I think it established by him not going out that back entrance and setting the alarm off. Like he is still living in fear to some degree, like Mel said. So, he is afraid that people are going to see him, notice him. So let's just say you know who Saul Goodman is. What do you do when you run into him?
You want to start, Mel?
Well, I would definitely first order a Cinnabon because they're yummy, and I would like to be served by Saul Goodman. I would like to be served some coffee by Saul Goodman. That would be cool. I would not turn Saul in because looking at this poor, balding, sad man in this Cinnabon, he is already broken. He is already suffering more than he would if he was in jail. So I just couldn't do that to him. He's paying the price by having built his own prison for himself by fleeing. So no, I would not turn Saul in.
So I would, as I mentioned, I'd get the Cinnabon ordered, and great point, Mel, and some coffee. I'd enjoy that. I'd then probably stop out at the booth where they sell the cell phone covers and see if there's like a cool Alice Cooper cell phone cover or something like that. And then I would come back and I'd turn him in. But I'd like to explain why.
Yes,
because
explain.
he's clearly in pain, and he's a very good lawyer, and he's crafty, and he's going to get his mojo back if he now has to defend himself. It's Saul Goodman. He's going to get himself out of the situation, and then he's going to be free to go back and be his awesome self. So, especially if there's a reward too, because then I win, I get some money, I possibly get a new cell phone cover, and he has a chance to become Saul again. So I'm trying to free him back to his former self.
So you're going the route of tough love.
Tough love and confidence in Saul Goodman's ability as a litigator.
Okay. All right.
Both are pretty solid answers. I think personally, I'm using the information to blackmail him for free Cinnabon.
I
Best
didn't think
answer.
of that. That was the best answer. I didn't think about that.
Mike receives 5 points for that round. Congratulations.
Okay. My question for y'all goes to the very end of the episode when Jimmy has his new cushy office in that very not looking like a lawyer's office that he's got now, and his soon to have a Coca-Cola desk. There's a painting on the wall that he briefly looks at, and it appears to be a person in a blue hoodie who is falling backwards, maybe into a cactus, and has a shoe coming off. It's a very odd painting. I'm curious as to whether either of you saw any sort of symbolism in that painting. They briefly look at it, and they ask him if he wants to replace it, and he says no.
So I wasn't sure initially because the painting is somewhat abstract, and so I wasn't 100% sure if it was just somebody in a hoodie falling back in the desert, or whether it was a skateboarder losing their balance falling back, which I thought potentially would remind him of the incredible, awesome Tuco negotiation scene in the desert from season 1.
Right.
Right. On my initial kind of look at the image, I kind of thought it might be a bit of a kind of callback and reminder to him of that, which I still found surprised. But that was a point where he did some good negotiating. But if it wasn't a skateboarder and it was just an individual, then to me, I think there's a little Jesse in there, is my guess. But
yeah, Mike, any thoughts?
Personally, I would have changed the picture. But since he didn't, and that's what we're going with, I would say that he spent a good chunk of this episode moving away from Jimmy and more towards the Saul that we know. So I feel like him accepting the job, turning around and accepting the job in the end, is in a sense like a step or stumble backwards for him as a character.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it would symbolize him falling backwards.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt that it was symbolizing this trip that he was going on. He's actually kind of tripped and fallen, and right now I think he's not sure whether he has taken he's made a good decision or a bad decision, and we'll find out later. But I just thought it was a neat painting. It did remind me personally of Jesse initially. And then, as Kelly brings up, the skateboarding kids. So it's a good painting. But they didn't talk about it. I did watch that other Talking Saul show. And,
the one that rips us off?
Yes. And they really didn't mention the painting as an Easter egg or anything like that. So I was just curious what y'all thought.
Well, that's because they suck compared to us and the clever insights that we can provide.
Possibly.
Their fancy set and guests and that kind
You hear that, Hardwick?
Yeah,
And-
take that.
Yeah. And Vince Gilligan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, though,
Yeah,
I still
yeah.
would have changed the painting.
That's
That's just me. I would have at least looked at the samples when the guy offered.
It's a little bit of a disturbing image, is why it kind of drew my eye.
It doesn't fit. Well, first off, I completely agree with you that office is not a lawyer's office.
Yeah,
It doesn't have the feel of a lawyer's office. And then not only does that painting not fit that office, it pulls it even more away from a professional environment for me.
Mm-hmm.
So something nice, like a classy, old school Betty Page image or something. Is what
Or
I
some-
would have went with.
Or some dogs playing poker.
Dogs playing poker is always good.
Yeah.
An Alice
That-
Cooper poster.
That would be excellent. That cat that's hanging, the hang in there baby poster. that could be good. That kind of, it might make his clients feel more comfortable. We're going to get through this. that type of thing. So let's stay in the office just for a second there, and we had to return a Coco Bolo, which is there was a lot of activity on Twitter to have people were posting pictures of what Coco Bolo desks look like. They do look actually very nice. So apparently it's a tropical wood, which I had no idea. Thought it was a Starbucks flavor.
Or at least one of their strange sizes.
Yeah, what's wrong with small, medium, large Starbucks, huh?
They don't know.
Yeah. So more props to your hat, Mel from Myrna. She's found the show and she loves the hat as well. McGevna's in the John McGevna's in the Mike camp of this is the gateway to free Cinnabons for the rest of my life. I'm not turning them in, so good to hear on that.
Cool.
But let's stay in the office for a second because the title of this episode was Switch. And I think it's probably, my opinion, multiple levels. One, it's the starting of the switch of Jimmy to characteristics that will become Saul, and then physically there was a light switch in his realtor-like office at the end that had a very clear "Do not turn this light switch on and off," and of course that in stark contrast to the beginning of the episode where a different sign stopped Gene dead in his tracks. This is still, and he's got a little more mojo, and he had to flick it on and off. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I assumed that was a connection for us to make. And they talked a little bit about it in Talking Saul as well, a little bit about that. Any thoughts or reaction to that?
I just put that together as you said it. The light switch at the end. I got the switch as the changing in his his life and his path, but I didn't put it together with the light switch at the end. I'm sick, y'all.
See, to me, the light switch at the end was more like, even though he accepted this job and isn't going full Saul yet, is still kind of hanging on to a little bit of Jimmy, that he hasn't, given up on that. Like that Saul side of him is still there, bubbling under the surface, ready to come out.
Yeah.
Just because he sold out and took the job, he's not gonna, play by the rules, kind of thing.
Right. As the teasers very much imply in coming episodes.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to get a little bit of Chuck here pretty quick, which will be fun. And, again, on Talking Saul, they said there's going to be some other visitors from the Breaking Bad universe, so...
Should we really be talking about that other show?
Yeah, you're right. We should. I heard somewhere that there might be some other folks showing up. Now, before we go to favorite quotes, I wanted to get this in my summary until so the whole rehearsing thing before you did it actually would have been very good, because I would have realized that if you have a page full of notes, you're not going to make that work in a minute. But there was a point that I was going to try and make in the summary that I couldn't, so I'm going to make it now, and it's Price. And I just, by observing the scene with Price, there's something I identified. So obviously this guy has compensation issues. He's a jerk. He's
Colorblind.
Colorblind, horrible taste, just an overall loser. Which all comes together when you realize that he's a Cubs fan as well. Because if you look there, to me, I saw a Cubs pennant that had been kind of torn off the wall a little bit, and the large scoreboard, because I know Mel, well, both you and Mike, huge sports fans that you are, recognized that scoreboard poster that he had over his wall was very likely the Wrigley Field scoreboard.
I have been itching to say that this whole episode.
I knew you were waiting, and I know you wanted to beat Mel to it, but to me, it just proves he's a Cub fan, and it just proves to me that I'm right about all Cub fans. So I just wanted to get that in the summary, and I didn't. So there it is for you.
I didn't understand most of that scene when he started rattling off what I assume were sports statistics and stuff. Yeah, I didn't get any of that. So.
Yeah, all I have to add to that is go sports.
Yeah, sports ball rules.
You recognized a couple of the names, right? Willie
Yeah,
Mays, right?
I've heard the name before. I did know that Willie Mays played baseball.
Oh, there
I
you
did
go.
know that.
I don't know
I,
if I could. I've heard the name before, but honestly, out of context, I'm not sure I could have told you that was a baseball player.
I do know that one. I'm not sure I knew any of the others he was yammering on about. I was kind of like those cops looking at each other, stupefied. That was kind of me during that scene. So, just
Yeah.
an aside.
Yep. And then to me, did you view the kind of his little hiding spot as another callback?
Yes. Yes. Very much so. He's kind of a pre-Walt, the as clueless. He's obviously not very smart. Well, sort of. He has a job where he steals pharmaceuticals, but he's kind of a pre-Walt person who we presume will end up in Saul's life at some point.
Yeah,
I think
I definitely agree with that. He's somebody who, if he were smarter or a little better organized, could have been Walt.
Yeah, he doesn't have Walt's drive. I just mean, as Walt was in the beginning, clueless, bumbling through all of this. This will prepare Saul for dealing with that sort of bumbling professor type, so that he will be the great help to Walt that he becomes in Breaking Bad.
Now, Kelly, do you think if you were going to get into drug dealing at this point in your life, watching shows like this, do you feel more prepared for it, or do you think you would stumble in the beginning as well?
I view it as helpful research. I think it does give some context. I would have thought the baseboard model was an outstanding hiding place, but now I've learned that I would have to rethink that. And I was totally down the road of, I would absolutely buy that car with money. How could you not?
But would you wear those shoes? That was the real travesty. Would you have worn those shoes?
No, I would not.
Thank you.
The answer is absolutely not, because I only wear Adidas, and if anyone from Adidas ever hears this, they should send me a free pair.
All right.
There you go.
Just
But
saying.
not in bright yellow, right?
No, I don't want my shoes to match my car, which is bright yellow.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
Good.
the official shoe of the Saul and Battery show. So, yeah, I'm with you, Mel. On there's some interesting parallels between Price and Walt, and even he's got a vehicle that seems out of line with what his income might allow him to do, and kind of quickly goes, oh, it's leased. Because that was the same thing Walt was on kind of the first go round, or when Hank was asking questions about, oh, I got a good deal on a lease. That same kind of excuse came out. So
Right.
lots of kind of interesting parallels between the two.
And someone needs to teach him how to spell player. Player. Yeah, that was sad. He doesn't know how to use Google. But that's okay.
And dissing Mike is never a good idea.
No.
That was unwise. So I think there's going to be a little more quality time with Price and Mike next episode. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yes. Does look good.
Alrighty, to kind of wrap things up, I think we should do favorite quotes. And this was interesting because, I mean, Jimmy had a bunch of good lines. I mean, you typically are going to assume the quotes are going to come from Jimmy, but actually there was a lot of other people saying cool stuff in this episode as well. So I'll be interesting to see what we've all selected. Mike, would you like to offer your quote first?
Sure. I don't think it's going to be what you think it will be. Because I know what you think it'll be, and it was almost my choice.
Yeah, yes.
But what I decided to go with was, I guess it's a quote, but in a little bit more of an abstract way, his scratched-in SG was here on the wall.
Yes.
That would be my favorite quote of the show, because it's, ties the whole thing together, like how broken he is now versus seeing Jimmy and reminding you of what he's going to become.
Absolutely.
Cool. I like that. Real quick, breaking in. So Myrna apparently is our resident drug dealing expert, and was wanting to
That
point out.
actually makes complete sense to me.
It does. It all comes together now. But Myrna was basically sent a duh tweet. It's like baseboards and vents are like the first place to look. LOL. So I should have touched base with her first.
Yes. Always ask Myrna first.
No, whenever I'm like rearranging to get the like the feng shui of my drug hiding places together, Myrna's the first person that I contact.
Good to know.
Excellent. Mel, you want to go next?
Okay. Well, my favorite quote is very similar to Mike's. It wasn't, as opposed to the SG was here, my favorite quote was when Jimmy is trying to explain to Kim in the bar when he's having that discussion about the gamblers and all of that. He says, "There is no reward at the end of this game." And that was my favorite among many, many, many funny off-color quotes that were in this episode that I really figured Mike would pick, so I didn't even write them down. That was my favorite one because it really summed up the episode, and I think it sums up the arc of Jimmy McGill to Saul Goodman to Gene that we have been exposed to so far. We're seeing where Jimmy started, where Saul came from, and we know right now where Saul's going to end up. And so there is no reward at the end of this game seems to be very appropriate here. So that was my favorite quote of the episode.
So I too steered clear of the most offensive quotes, assuming that Mike would be taking it. I'm just pausing for a second because we may have a cat joining the Saul character, and you may see the cat a little bit behind there right now. So well, this was unexpected. We'll just wait a second for this to clear out. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to control it. It's a cat. So I steered away from the ones I figured Mike would take as well, and I'm just going back to the sports one. And
which is the one you thought I would take, Kelly?
So wait, you see what I floss with was the one that I.
Because even Kim thought that one was funny.
Because I thought that was the Mike one, and then followed closely by I wanted to be at the end where he's like, come join the pride, and he said he was a lioness, and he said, well, I wanted to be species accurate irrespective of my sexist view. I thought that might be another one
that was one of my alternates.
Thought it was a pretty good one, but I really enjoyed. Even though I think the man's making horrible decisions, I enjoyed Price's kind of totally unself-aware dialogue and attitude that he threw at Mike, and he threw at the cops. I thought it was hilarious. And so as they're going through, and he's kind of covering, don't you know, it's the first 48 hours, and you need to do this, and I'll print off a list and all that. And he was kind of bemoaning all the things that could have happened to his cards, like the packaging could have been opened. And then the big kicker was, they could be damaged or creased, God forbid, was his passion for the creasing of a baseball card being a horrible situation. I got a pretty good chuckle out of that one. So I'm going with or creased, God forbid, which is kind of a hard one to work into everyday conversation.
I don't know. Yeah. I feel like that needs to be a personal goal for you. When you go to the office tomorrow, try and work that in naturally into a conversation.
Yeah, or creased, God forbid. Yeah, I think that's a good goal. I'll see what I can do.
I think you should also try to be. I just wanted to be species accurate. I think you really could get that one in at work too.
I'm going with the floss one for work for me.
Okay.
This comes as no surprise.
Yeah. Well, one of my other favorites was when we're talking about Price, when he's telling Mike that this is the gravy train and it's leaving the station right now. I thought that was funny. I got a good laugh out of that.
I thought Mike was going to punch him in the throat. I really did.
Yeah. He
Easy
clearly
peasy
didn't
job.
hear it. Yes. Yes. He's Price as a character, so we will enjoy seeing what horrible things await him. Because we know Nacho's not done.
Nope. And Nacho likes to rob criminals because they can't go to anybody.
Right.
Unless they're really stupid like Price.
Yes.
So,
Price really is crash test dummy version of Walt.
Yes. Definitely.
yeah, I do not think it's going to end well for him at all. So.
No.
All right. Thanks for those of you who joined us on Twitter tonight, and this will be up on the YouTube channel for folks that are going to catch it later. We'll keep kind of playing around with the format and see how things go. So appreciate everybody for joining us. I'm excited. I enjoyed the first episode. I think it's going to be fun again this year. And Mel and Mike, thank you for being willing to continue to do this with me. And I'd like to thank my cat for leaving.
Well, thank you. This was fun. I like this show. I really like this show. I'm surprised that this show is so good. You know.
Are you talking about our show or?
Well, yes, obviously our show, but Better Call Saul in and of itself. You know, I have a hard time explaining to people. It doesn't sound all that interesting to my people that don't know anything about Breaking Bad. And it really is a good show, and it is as well written. Even in just one season, it's clear that it's as well written as Breaking Bad was, which was one of the best things about Breaking Bad. I've frequently said that Breaking Bad pretty much ruined other TV shows for me because it was just so awesome. And this one is so well written and so well acted. The actress that plays Kim did a fantastic job in this episode.
Yeah, she did. And I want to thank you guys also for giving me the opportunity to come back with you, although I always knew how good our show would be.
That's because you have really good self-esteem, Mike. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Most definitely. And
Team building.
That's right.
That's right.
And I'm super excited. I looked up in the corner and it says live, so I hit the button and we actually broadcast this, which sometimes doesn't happen. So that was very cool. And we will be back again next Tuesday at 9 Central for episode 2, which I had the title, but you'll just have to wait and see what it is because I don't have it handy for right now. But we'll be back to talk Saul again next week. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.